The thyroid. So the thyroid is located on the front of the neck here, and you can actually palpate it yourself. Palpate means to just sort of have a feel for it there. So if there's anything kind of hard there, the thyroid is actually showing you there's something up with it, or if it's feeling particularly warm. So the thyroid is on our hormone system. We have three major computers in the brain: hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal. All of this comes down through, all this information gets passed through the thyroid, and then is delivered out to the different hormone areas of our body. It is very common to have thyroid issues. For some reason, autoimmune seems to always affect the thyroid. So if a person is gluten intolerant, they nearly always have thyroid issues that go with it. Iodine is the best support by far for the thyroid. It is the one mineral that this thyroid needs. And actually every single cell in your body requires iodine for it to work properly. It was a very old remedy and a superb remedy if you had a cut or a wound or a nick. You know, years ago, your mum would send you down to the pharmacy to get some iodine, and it was superb because not only did it heal and clean the wound, but it also brought your whole immune system up with it. So it was a really, really wonderful remedy. Selenium is very important for the thyroid, as is zinc. Now, one particular toxin I know affects the thyroid a lot is if you have any mercury fillings here. And mercury chemically never solidifies. It's always considered a liquid. Now, I know some people have them for 40 years. They say, what's the problem? The problem is it's 40 years of leaking in your mouth. It never, ever solidifies. It is always leaky. So every time you brush your teeth or drink a cup of tea. Now, some people's mercuries are just fine, as in there's no obvious vapor releasing and there's no obvious neurological issues, although none of them are really fine. But what can happen is if you have had some kind of an injury, for example, let's say you were in a car crash or you took a punch to the jaw or something occurred that made your jaw go in a slightly different alignment, the teeth can move but the mercury won't. And now you really do have leaking. So if you have a leaking mercury, it's usually kind of black or blue around the gum. Or if you taste it, that is a problem. So that is most definitely a big problem for the thyroid gland. And there are some lovely solutions for countering that, also removing them. But there's some homeopathy remedies. And if you have mercury, people tend to be low in zinc. Also, if you smoke, you tend to be low in zinc. And it's very important to have zinc for our thyroid to work properly. Yes, selenium comes in a close second on fixing the thyroid. It's wonderful for cleaning up all sorts of toxins in the body, but the thyroid really thrives with selenium. Number one is iodine. You can get iodine and sea kelp, and the different thyroid supports are very common in your health store. So there's really great remedies. Generally, you put a person on maybe one sea kelp a day for 3 months, something ongoing like that. How you'd know you had thyroid? Well, actually the neck can get quite thick. You can get like not even full goiter, but it can get quite thick and heavy around the thyroid area. A person may have gone to their doctor and been put on L-troxin, and now their thyroid blood tests are testing fine. That is not actually how it is with the thyroid. Artificial and synthetic drugs do change the blood tests, but the issue with the thyroid hasn't actually been addressed at that level. So even though you might be on synthetic drugs to correct the blood tests, the thyroid is still being untreated and still requires iodine. This is something that's very common in practice, where people come in to very clear and obvious thyroid issues. You suggest them it's a thyroid and they say, oh, my thyroid's fine, my blood tests are okay. So it's like, I don't want to run into issues here. I'm just going to help you support your thyroid. So how would you know if you had thyroid issues? Someone who's hypothyroid, whose thyroid is underfunctioning, put on weight very easily. Their metabolism is slow, they tend to get heavy, they don't want to move very much. Unfortunately, it comes with a lot of control issues where they don't feel in control of themselves, but feel a need to control things around them. And that can bring a lot of anxiety and issues, and certainly stress amongst the other people. Hyperthyroidism, where the thyroid is on overdrive, drives people really hyper, as in they have to go all the time. They cannot sit still for any length of time. They find it very hard to put on weight. They might eat a lot actually, and they keep running and moving and moving. And this has got its own issues as well. Some people who are under say, I wish I was over, but none of them are in a restful sort of place. Neither one is calm. Both have anxiety in different ways. So if the information from the 3 higher computers is getting blocked in the thyroid, it is not getting down to the end of the body. So the end is usually your ovaries or testes. So common for women to have problems in the womb energy, and it's because the thyroid's under functioning and are getting all sorts of different treatments, and it's just not getting the message. So signals go down and back up, but it's not actually receiving the message at all. And it's very common for that to be the thyroid. Women tend to have thyroid issues much more than men. And in treating them, men don't need much. It will come right quite quickly, whereas women need a much longer, slower treatment over maybe sometimes many years. The energy center at the throat is our communication center. The thyroid is the center for our throat chakra. Our throat chakra is important for communication. It's how we communicate, how we speak our truth. Do we speak our truth? Is our truth being shut down? Are people being, or do you feel that someone would be negative towards you if you were speaking your truth? So these kind of things can completely block it. Now, traditionally, it has always been said that women have been blocked more than men, and this is why. And I think because of the last 2 years, that may even have changed over to we were all blocked at some level of speaking our truth, whatever that may be, because the dynamics got so intense that if somebody doesn't believe you, you are being shut down straight away, and that could be on the most simple of things. So society has a lot to play on our thyroid and our ability to speak our truth. And it is super important that we do speak our truth, because only then can we clear this area. So sometimes when we look at the throat chakra, we do have to look at ourself, our sense of self-worth, who we feel we are, or what we've been told we are, what we believe ourselves to be, what we actually are. We have to look at things about how we feel about ourselves. And then when we're comfortable with how we feel about ourselves, we look at how we feel about others. Because if we don't feel good about ourselves, we're not going to feel good about anyone else either. And this is the trick with the thyroid. When that's out of balance, we can find fault with absolutely everyone and everything. And although there might be truth in it, it won't stop. And that's torture. So it's nice when we can come to a place where we are at peace with ourselves. And then we don't find fault with anyone else, because we're so busy finding peace with ourselves that we don't have time to fault other people. The world is a mess. Yes, it is crazy, and nobody is perfect. And we must come to an acceptance of that, because the thyroid is about perfectionism too. And where we have perfectionism, we have very high standards, which sometimes we can't reach ourselves. And therefore we feel like a failure because we've set our own standards so high. And therefore we take that out on the people around us because we don't feel good about ourselves. So the thyroid is most definitely about self-esteem, self-worth, knowing that you are good enough, you have enough, and there is enough.